This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by Mint Mobile. Stay tuned for a special offer at the end of the show. Hi and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is Wednesday, July 26th, 2023, and I'm here with Rich Woods of XDA Developers, and we're in Seoul, Korea, behind us, yes. And so, guess what happened tonight?
I don't know what happened. Was there an event?
Did we miss something?
There might have been. I don't know.
Samsung Galaxy Unpacked just happened. We were just there.
Minutes ago.
Yes, and we want to talk about the new phones. In fact, we have a little surprise for you, but, we've had the chance to play with the phones earlier this week, and so we have some thoughts, and you've written extensively already about the Z Flip. On your site, I've written about the Z Flip and the Z Fold on Hot Hardware. Go check out the stories. I'll put the links to everything in the show notes. So, Rich, what's your general kind of takeaway from this Unpacked?
Okay. I still think that these are the two best foldable phones, right? In their two respective categories. It's just not a particularly exciting launch. And I think we can all agree on that.
Yes. I mean, I think, the events, Samsung's events are always a little weird, right?
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about. I think what we're talking about here is the fact that these phones are very evolutionary, right?
Yes.
Ultimately, I mean, they're
Especially
good
the
phones, but they're very evolutionary, right?
Yeah, they are. Especially the Fold, because all that's new is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 for Galaxy processor and the new hinge, which closes mostly flat, right? I mean,
I think it's flat. I would call it as flat.
Yeah.
There's a tiny gap, but it's on purpose so stuff doesn't get stuck between there, like the Pixel Fold, for example, right?
For sure. Yeah, but you can see light through. That's
very faintly, but it's equal now. It's even.
Yeah, it looks good. It looks good.
In my story, I wrote that it feels like it's finished. It feels complete now. I always felt like, as somebody who's kind of obsessed with technology and engineering and mechanical things, it always felt like, oh, you can do better. You can do better, especially when the competition solved this problem. Even the original Razr, bless you, original Razr, for being a trailblazer but being very flawed, did solve this problem, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
It's still the best in its category. I love the Pixel Fold for it solves certain problems that Samsung hasn't solved, as that wider external display, which I think everybody that uses it loves it. I think it has a better camera, but Samsung is on a 5th gen product. You can tell by using it.
Yeah.
It's just better in a lot of ways.
I think that, if you want to be cranky and negative, you can just say this is boring and, just evolutionary. And as you said, the hinge is better, and there's an 8 Gen 2 in there, which today has to be, it's not like they're going to make a phone with an 8 plus Gen 1 like Moto, right?
Right.
So that is all a given. So you can be kind of like cranky about it and say like, whatever. But then I think if you look at it, we got a chance to do the QA lab, right? We got a chance to see how they torture the phones.
Oh, that was so cool.
That was super cool.
So cool.
We'll talk about it some more, but what I'm trying to get to here is that I think that 5th generation part that you talked about is really relevant. If I want to be optimistic here, the good side of this story is that I think these are going to be the most durable folding phones on the market by a long shot. Because, look, I love the Honor Magic V2. I'm super excited that it's so thin and light. That's progress. And Samsung needs to, pay attention and take notice. But I guarantee you, no foldable out there is as long-term reliable as this Z Flip5 and Z Fold5.
For sure.
Like, not just from our visit to the QA lab, but just, the way they engineered the hinge and stuff, just some of the stuff I got to see. And people I talked to about it, I feel like they are, they've added like a supporting plate that absorbs shock on the displays. They've added like a way to dissipate stress in the hinge even more if you drop it, like stuff like that. I think they're constantly evolving. And of course, if you look compared to the Z Flip 4 and Z Fold 4, that's like, for them, from engineering, it's like, look at how much progress we've made, right? But for us, you're like, oh, look, it folds flat now. Nice,
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah. The other, the big disappointment though for me, is the camera.
The cameras in general. All of them. They're the same.
Yeah. They're exactly the same. They talked a little bit about camera improvements, and when I asked them, like, are there actual camera improvements, or is there just a newer chipset that has a better ISP or whatever?
It's software.
It is the and it's the chipset. It's the 8 Gen 2.
And we can't underestimate that. I think the 8 Gen 2 has, clearly delivered better imaging for everyone.
Yeah.
But the
not
hardware,
what we were hoping for.
I know, the hardware is the same. I mean, it feels like less to me of an evolution, less of a step forward than the S23 felt versus the S22 line, right? That already was kind of, I felt a little weak, in terms of...
especially with the Fold, though, because I think there's more to talk about with the Flip.
I think the Flip's cover screen is a big story here.
It is.
Right?
It is. And the only reason that doesn't feel super exciting is because Moto did it a couple months ago.
I kind of think I've got to give Moto kudos for kind of stealing their thunder. I don't
They did, didn't they?
They didn't expect this, right?
Motorola doesn't do that often.
No, it kind of came from left field, and Samsung was going to be like, look, we have the biggest screen on the... Oh, no.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of what happened.
You think they had scripts ready to go that said they had the biggest screen on a...
I mean, you saw the script. We have the biggest screen on any Flip, is what they said.
Yeah.
Any Z Flip so far.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that was added. So you know what I'm saying?
Probably, yeah.
But that being said, I feel like, for me, Moto is still doing some things better. Like, forget the fact that the chipset is not as, new, and that, the cameras are not performing quite as well, even though hardware-wise, those two camera systems are very similar. The one, in fact, I would say Moto, on a hardware perspective, has a slightly better camera system than the Z Flip5, because their f-stop is very fast, 1.5 on the main camera, which is faster than Samsung, and they have autofocus on the ultra-wide for macro photography. So technically, if Samsung grabbed that hardware and did their magic sauce on the Moto hardware, they'd get a better camera.
Yeah.
So, but I like what Moto's done with the cover display, with those hole punch
I do too.
Camera go through, and the fact that there's actually very little bezel around the edge. Because if you look at the Z Flip 5, it's bezel-y, right?
It is bezel-y. Let me ask you, you mentioned the chipset. Do you think it makes a difference to anybody, performance-wise?
No.
To anybody that buys this phone?
No.
This is not that market.
No, I think the ISP makes a difference, and I think maybe the thermal and efficiency, like battery life performance, is slightly better versus the 8 Plus Gen 1. I also feel that gaming is not going to make a big difference, because even though technically the 8 Gen 2 is going to be better thermals, my testing for hot hardware, we actually test thermals, has shown that every folding phone we've ever tested throttles down like almost instantaneously. So I don't think they've solved that.
They have not.
You've tried it.
I have not tried it, but I know.
Okay. You've heard from a reliable source.
Okay, so the Flip 5 got a USB upgrade. It's not something that's really talked about.
I completely missed that.
It's USB 3.2.
Wow.
Which I believe previous ones were USB 2.0.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, yeah. So it is USB 3.2 now.
Why would they do that even? That's kind of overkill.
Well, what it did not get with a USB upgrade is DeX support. So.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, so there's another advantage for Moto.
Yeah, actually, right.
But you know what also got lost in the fine print?
What?
Wi-Fi 6E now on the Flip 5.
Oh, yeah?
It had 6 on the Flip 4, but 6E on the Fold 4, and now, of course, on the Fold 5. But I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Because, the thing you have to understand, guys, is if you look at the specs on Qualcomm's website, both the 8 Plus Gen 1 and the 8 Gen 2 have 6E. But it doesn't mean the manufacturer enable it. So, there you go.
Yeah.
Anything else that's slightly different?
No.
Same front camera. Okay, let's talk about also, you mentioned the cameras. I think this is very important. The audience knows this. Same batteries on both phones. 3700 milliamp hour on the Flip 5, 4400 milliamp hour on the Fold 5. And of course, we have the same charging speeds, which I thought was kind of sucky. Like 25 watt wired on both, 15 watt wireless, 4.5 reverse. Again, nothing's changed versus last year on this stuff.
They really didn't go overboard with anything in trying to make improvements.
Because, last year they made significant improvements. Even the S23, right? Like this whole series had slightly bigger batteries in some cases, some camera improvements on the selfie cameras, 200 megapixel, of course, on the Ultra. But here we're not seeing anything except that cover display, the flat hinge,
what big
and the
changes did they make last year?
They had bigger. I thought they put a bigger battery in.
Okay.
And the cameras didn't change on the Flip, but the Fold got better telephoto.
The Fold did, yeah,
and a better battery, I think.
Interesting. Do you think that they're going every other year between the Flip and the Fold and making changes?
I think they're sitting on their laurels, and I'm not happy about that. Like, I don't look. They have no reason to care because, especially in the U.S. and Western markets, you don't have the choices you have in China when it comes to folding phones, especially the book style folding phones.
Well, you're gonna have choices, right?
Yeah, but the Pixel Fold, I love it, but it's got tensor, which sucks.
I love it and hate it. So.
Correct, exactly. Yeah. I love the form factor. I think the wild card here, the ace that might change everything, is the OnePlus folding phone. Yeah. If that thing is good, which could be, I really hope it is. If you're listening, OnePlus, wireless charging. If that phone hits all the boxes, I think that might be a contender because the Pixel Fold is too compromised. I'm using it. I finally have one. I'm really happy that I do.
It still forces Samsung to compete just because they have that much of a potential to fix the product next year.
Yeah, there's my Pixel Fold. Woohoo! Very nice. I'm very happy with it. But tensor drives me nuts still, and it's heavy. But I do like the Passport form factor. Yes. And I like the cameras. Oh my God, I used the cameras tonight.
Of course.
Whew.
It's fantastic.
Wow. Like considering the specs are lower, right? Like, that like software chain of theirs, that imaging pipeline they have is heavy lifting, man. I keep foot in because, every time I use one, I take it for granted. But then there's Moto, right? And Moto has the essentially the Z Flip5 competitor with the Razer Plus 2023. And I think none of these competitors are going to sell in the numbers that Samsung.
I was going to say, like Motorola has a great product, but do we want to consider them to be a serious competitor?
We were just talking about why Samsung's sitting on their laurels. They don't have competition to worry about. And they only have like Honor and Xiaomi in China.
Right. But in the US, they already only have Google and OnePlus. Yeah. So
Google and OnePlus.
Unless Apple came out with a foldable smartphone.
Which they're not.
You think they'll never do it?
I don't think they will.
Really? Yeah.
Okay, my theory is this. We just talked about reliability, but I've talked to a few Fold and Flip users, including Theo, and they've had to change their screen protectors almost yearly. Yeah. And that's not something the average person is willing to deal with. And if they ignore the fact that it's delaminating, eventually that OLED screen is going to damage underneath there. Right. And then they're going to be SOL because that's a display replacement, which means a new phone. Apple will never go for that.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? And so I think I cannot see Apple joining this party unless they can create a phone that fixes this particular problem. I think they're not against it per se, but I think right now they're so focused on vision and on incrementing on, the standard iPhone line and the standard Mac and the standard watch lines that they're just like, why would you do something that is a niche? Like, Apple doesn't do niche. Remember netbooks? We all wanted them to make a netbook.
You just said they were focused on vision.
But that's niche, but I think to them that's the next big thing, right? Like,
yeah, they probably do think that.
I mean, they might. I'm not sure it is the next big thing, frankly.
Yeah.
But I just want to give them... That's an
entirely separate discussion.
But my point is, before the vision, I would have said there's a chance they're going to make a folding phone if they can solve these problems, if the market develops further. But at this point, I feel like they're so distracted by vision, for better or for worse. This might be the undoing of Apple, for all we know. Right. But they're so focused on it that I don't think we're going to see it. Like, Flip or Fold doesn't matter to them right now because it's like a distraction.
Yeah.
And again, they don't do niche products and they don't do things they can do right. So if they cannot do it right, and it sucks because look, all iPhone users out there, because the majority of the listeners are on Apple Podcasts. So I know you guys are all iPhone fanboys and girls who really are kind of jonesing for an Android phone because they're so cool.
They are cool.
Called you on it. But the bottom line, I don't believe that. I think there's tons of Android users on my show. But listen, I think that if you are looking, jonesing for an iPhone that folds, I believe you. I hear you. I think that's awesome. I would love that. I think they would do it so well. Yeah. It would be great. So, but that's not the reality living in that. And so Samsung has no competition. So they're not really pushing the envelope. And I talked to their product guys today, and I said, look, they asked me what I thought. I was like, guys, I think it's great, but I also think you really don't seem to be pushing the envelope.
They definitely did not push the envelope this year.
And they're like, but, and I'm like, look at what the competition is doing. Even though they're behind you and you have way more experience, you should be leading the way. You should be making the thinnest phone, the lightest phone, the phone with the best cameras. And you're not doing that. That's an Apple move.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And
it is very much, and I've thought about that too. I've talked to people that it feels very much like an Apple move, and just knowing that, like, hey, if people are going to buy a foldable phone, they're going to buy it from us. So we don't really need to change that much.
Yeah, but I also think that another big problem I have with Samsung, and it's the reason I don't like using a lot of Samsung devices. I say this as the video for this. If you're on Patreon, you get the video version in advance and pay for it. I'm recording on S23 Ultra right now because it's the phone that I have with the most storage. Yeah. So I'm not going to run out of space, and image quality is great and audio is great too. But look, I have nothing wrong with the Samsung phones, but I hate One UI. I don't like the experience. I don't like how they kind of like are trying to be an ecosystem that's vertically integrated, but they aren't, because you can't do that with Android.
Sure.
And they aren't because they do it in such a weird, convoluted way. It feels so artificial and so forced, Like Apple, it's so seamless, right? You know that. You're a big Apple user.
Yeah.
I
would say big.
Look, you have an Apple Watch. And
I do.
You have an iPhone in your pocket, and you have an iPad. And you don't have a MacBook, though.
That's true.
It's really interesting.
That removes the big.
Because I'm
that removes the big.
I'm completely the opposite. I got a MacBook Air right here recording, and yet I have everything else Android. Yeah. But look, the point I'm making is that, I think that they are trying to be like Apple, but completely failing because they don't understand it. They don't understand that what Apple is doing is extremely well thought out.
Well, how would they do it though if they weren't using their own solution, right? It's tough with Android because Google's trying to do it.
I'll tell you how they could do it. Look at what Nothing is doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very much an Apple experience on Android.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is it's very thoroughly thought through. Samsung just seems to be doing like copycat. Like, we're going to do what Apple does, but then it doesn't flow.
They're going for seamless integration with all their products, right? They talk about this a lot. And you have the phones, and you have the watches and the tablets. That's all Android, but they also have Windows laptops.
Right.
So they have to use their own stuff to work between all those devices. And then, something we don't talk about as much is that this is all supposed to work seamlessly with your Samsung, not just TV, but your washer and dryer and the smart fridge and all that stuff.
Smart things.
Smart things.
The only company that I feel pulled this off successfully so far, Apple certainly hasn't because they don't have fridges and washing machines. I think it's Huawei.
Oh, they're phenomenal.
Right?
It was actually the last time that I was on this show was at Mobile World Congress when they announced Super Device. Was it Super Device?
Last at IFA, right?
No, it was Mobile World Congress.
MWC.
So I remember us talking about it. Nick Gray was there.
Oh, that's right.
But it was called Super Device, right?
Super Device.
Yeah. The idea that the ecosystem is the device and the actual device you're using is just the interface for that.
And to say that a company that can't even use GMS right now has a better experience of integration than Samsung.
Maybe that's why, though.
Yeah, maybe. I just don't know. I feel like... I think it's kind of cultural. Mm. Like, I think that they're not really understanding what Apple is doing fully and trying to replicate it, but it gets lost in translation. It's like a game of telephone.
Yeah.
You know? Instead of like not trying to copy Apple and say, we're going to create an ecosystem integrated in-house ourselves the way, what our vision is. Instead, they're kind of like, and that's kind of the problem. And One UI, because of that, is difficult for me. But at the same time, One UI is the only, on at least the book foldables, the only UI right now that gives you a really in-depth experience for maximizing this big screen real estate, right?
For sure.
So they're doing some things right. And I honestly have in the past loved the Tizen watches. Now, of course, they're, Android Wear. I haven't used the Samsung Android Wear. I'm using a Pixel Android Wear.
We haven't talked about those yet.
Well, we'll talk about them in a minute.
I'm like, there are other products too.
There's tablets as well, right? But look, to kind of wrap up the phones a little bit, I feel like it's a little frustrating to me because on one hand, these phones are going to be really excellent to use. And they're going to be taking great photos, have great battery life. They're going to improve in every metric slightly. And they're going to be very popular and get great discounts from the carriers and from trade-ins. And, and for a niche, it's possibly going to grow and be very popular. But it just rubs me the wrong way that Samsung isn't trying to innovate further.
Yeah.
So
basically, these are the best foldables at least in the US in their categories. But as nerds, it's not exciting enough.
No. Yeah. And then, if I'm going to really nitpick, I don't like the tall, narrow form factor of the Fold.
Oh, yeah.
After using the various Oppo Find N series and
the Pixel Fold.
The Pixel Fold, you're like, this is the form factor. This is it. If that was running, if the Pixel Fold was running a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and had Samsung UI optimizations to take advantage of that big screen, but was a Pixel in terms of software.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it'd be game over. Yeah. I would not even look at the Fold.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think Pixel Fold is much better for using without having to open the screen, and Samsung it feels like you have to do more with the screen open just for a good experience, and that's the wrong approach.
I want to tell the audience, Pocari Sweat, this beverage, is like a sports beverage. They say ion supply drink, so it's an electrolyte drink, basically like Gatorade. It's very popular in Asia. It's also called Cal Piss, not cow, Cal, C-A-L piss, okay. in some regions. And I love that stuff. And 7-Eleven in Asia is amazing. And Rich and I, every time we're in Asia, I have a great time at 7-Eleven. Because if you haven't ever traveled to Asia, 7-Eleven in North America is kind of grungy and kind of seedy. And you have a very limited choice of things you can get there. Whereas 7-Eleven here is like joyful, clean, has so much selection on the weirdest, coolest stuff. It's just
we got lunch there today. I would never get lunch at a 7-Eleven in the United States.
I know. And then, incredible. You can buy SIM cards, you can buy bus passes. I mean, anything you think of, you pretty much can get there. It's kind of amazing. So, yeah, that's what I'm drinking, as you're wondering. The other thing I want to really kind of touch base on quickly is that there are more products, but before we do, maybe it's time for the surprise.
Okay.
Well, yeah. All right. We have both phones here, and we're going to unbox them on the show. Yeah. So those of you on video, Patreon supporters are really going to enjoy this. If you haven't joined Patreon yet, folks, you can do so, patreon.com/TNKGRL. You get a video version of the podcast a couple of days in advance, and with less edits, a little more raw and off the cuff. And that's how you can watch us unbox it. But for those of you who are listening, it's going to be an ASMR experience, right?
Yes.
I guess. I mean, this mic's good enough. It should be good. Well, all right, so you've got you do it, I'm going to do the commentary for the audio.
Okay. All right, this is the mint color.
Mint color Z Flip5. Comes with.
Do not accept if seal is broken. Doesn't say what to do if it's still.
That is amazing. So the seal that you would normally pull off the box is inside the box. That's amazing. Oh, there's actually a thing inside here too.
Oh, okay. Let me hold on to this.
I will hold on to the phone.
A black.
So the phone is in a black protective cover that we're going to peel off eventually. And you found a little divider there, this thing. I think that's supposed to have a USB cable and a SIM removal tool and some documents. Is that all in there? Yep.
Yes.
Yep, it is. So,
yep.
Do you want to describe this real quick? USB-C to C?
USB-C to C cable, SIM removal tool,
and then
some quick start guide.
Here, I'm going to get it closer to the cameras while you maybe undo the wrapper on the phone. Okay. So here's the manual. We're going to open that up for you. Oops, I've dropped everything. There you go. That's the manual for the video. It's very small. And is this a US model? That's the question that I wanted to know.
That is...
There is the SIM removal tool, standard Samsung. And then the USB-C to C cable, also standard Samsung. Oh, Rich is opening this up. You can hear it.
I love this new mint color.
This color is amazing. That's the color I chose to do my hands-on photos with.
Yeah.
I immediately fell in love with it.
Yeah.
Oh, here, I'll give you this part back.
Okay.
All right, folks, here it is. So this is mint, and as you can see, I'm going to fold it for the first time. It looks very pretty. For those of you listening on audio, go to hothardware.com right now. Check out my hands-on article. You'll have tons of photos of that mint one, because that's the one I used. Wow, it's pristine.
Yeah. So there are 4...
Let's see if the millimeter wave antenna is on that. No.
Wait, what?
It doesn't have the millimeter. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was worried. It's right next to the SIM slot. So this is a US model for sure.
Yeah.
Because the ones I did the hands-on with didn't have the millimeter wave, because I did my hands-on in Korea. You did your hands-on in New York, right?
Yes.
So you got the right one.
Yeah. So there are 4 colors, right? There's also like a purple, but it's different from the Fold 4 purple.
It's like a lavender color.
Yeah.
And then there's a black and a kind of a cream color.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's the 4 Samsung.com exclusives that we got to check out today.
What are they again?
There was a yellow one.
A greenish?
They all have a black. Black
they have
frame.
like a matte black metal frame instead of the shiny metal frame. So the shiny metal frame on this mint one is slightly green.
It's slightly green. Yeah, they're all kind of matched to their colors. So there's a yellow. There was a green.
A blue.
Yeah, there's a blue. Right. Yeah, there's a blue. The other one might have just been black with the black frame.
I think it's black with a black frame. Yeah. Let me double check. I got photos right here, so we'll know in a second.
The thing I really like about those colors, though, is that they're more bold.
Yes.
This is more of a subtle green.
No, the last one is a white.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah.
Well, gray. It's a slate gray.
Okay. Yeah.
Here, for those of you watching, there you go. That's what we're talking about. So, yeah. Of course, we can't fire it up because we have to set it up to show you the cover display.
Right.
We're not going to do that right now. But again, check my story on Hot Hardware. I took a photo that really shows the cover display because I picked a wallpaper that was really bright. So it really shows you the outline. It has a bit of a notch, kind of like avoiding the cameras. And it kind of reminds me of a half an iPhone notch. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. All right, let's do the other one. Yes. Galaxy Z Fold5 in blue.
See, this is the product that's more for me.
Yeah.
We have another one of these stickers. Is there?
That's again the same thing.
Same thing, a cable and SIM, I guess.
Yeah. And probably a tiny manual. So no chargers in the box again this year.
Those are never coming back.
No, they're not coming back. Here, I'll grab this and show it on the video.
Okay.
So this one has slightly different instructions because it's a slightly different phone. Shows you how to put the SIM card in there. And then, the other thing I want to point out, because Apple introduced, at least in the US only, a phone without SIM cards.
Yes.
Thankfully, Samsung hasn't followed suit. Have you noticed that nobody has followed suit so far?
Nobody has followed suit yet.
And I'm so happy about that. I don't want to see...
Do you think they will?
No, not soon enough. Not right away, but I think that eventually they will.
So Cable, SIM card tool.
Yeah, here we go. I'll show that a little closer. Same C2C cable here, folks, and a SIM removal tool. Yeah, pretty much the same stuff. So, ooh, look at that slab of goodness.
Yeah. So this color is called Icy Blue.
And just so you know, for those of you listening, Rich is slowly peeling the black protective plastic off of this. Okay. And being you're being very deliberate about it.
Yeah.
I like that. You're like me. I don't like damaging the packaging when I open the phone.
Yeah.
It's kind of this weird thing I have. Oh, look at that.
Yeah. Icy Blue. It's similar to Ice Blue from a Microsoft Surface.
Is it?
Yeah.
Huh. Do you have an Ice Blue Microsoft Surface that you can use side by side with it?
Yeah.
You should.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
I will. Yeah.
For your review.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's 3 colors of this one this year, right? I think it's just the
So there's that, there's a cream color and a black color.
Yeah, Phantom Black.
And then what are the 2 colors that are unique? It's a gray and a different shade of blue.
Yeah.
And they also have black metal frames that are matte, which is really badass. Was the camera pod black too?
Oh, I don't know.
Hang on, I got photos. Let's have a look at that. Yes!
Nice.
Yes!
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, good. Look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, that is sweet. I'm going to rotate the photo and show it to the crew here on Patreon. Check this out, guys. That's hot. Black camera pod, whereas it's kind of...
Fold.
Is that also slightly blue, the frame on this one? Yeah, it matches, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Notice that the
May I?
Yeah.
I'm going to show you guys the phone a little closer up. So here you go. That's what it looks like. See the camera pod. One of the differences, by the way, if you want to tell them apart, if somebody's on the phone, you want to tell apart the Fold4 from the 5, the flash is on the side, not in the camera pod. See, the flash is on the side here, not in the camera pod. And this is what it looks like, that folding display. And here we go. We'll fold it together. And
the hinge is much tighter.
Yeah, and look at how flat that hinge is. It's perfectly flat. Here, bring me the other one for a sec. They're both perfectly flat hinges, which is very cool. See, look at that. Yeah, nice. All right, well, here they are. You've unboxed your phones live on TV. Oh, I mean, live on my podcast.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You know, a couple of things. Like there's no bespoke edition this year?
There isn't.
There's not.
Wonder why.
I asked, and they said one of the reasons is because there's no more front, because it's all.
Oh,
it's all
right.
screen.
They can't really do that.
They're like, yeah. So there's no there's no color on the front, so there's nothing to make bespoke. I'm like, well, what about the back?
And what about the frame?
And what about the frame? Yeah, but what about the back? Well, the back's the back. Okay.
That sounds like a Samsung answer to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's very cool. Thanks for bringing those. I've got the same ones, but I need to make a video. So thanks to Rich for sacrificing the unboxing of his phones.
I'm just glad they gave us the cool colors.
Yeah.
It's
definitely the best colors this year.
interesting. This is the Fold is
it does look purpley pink lavender right now, doesn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
It's got a tinge of red in that blue.
It's more of like a frosted glass, right? This is more glossy.
Yeah, you're right. This is the Z Flip5 is glossy, and this is definitely more matte.
Yeah, I wonder what went into that decision. Although I think the Samsung colors we saw were matte on the back with the.
Oh yeah, and did you remember that reddish color was almost like pearlescent, right? On the Flip.
Oh, the
5.
green. No, the green one.
Was it the green one?
Yeah.
One of the colors was like super pearlescent.
Yeah.
Was it green or red? I can't remember.
It was green.
Green.
Yeah.
Well, so there you go, folks. So let's talk about the rest of it. So we have, in case you're wondering, by now you probably figure out that we're only going to talk about the Samsung stuff on this show because I haven't had a chance to research what's happening in the rest of the mobile world, and we'll catch up next week on the news. But basically, we got 3 tablets and 2 watches as well.
Yeah.
So you cover tablets more than I do. Like, is the last time we got a set of tablets from them about a year ago then?
That sounds right.
Because those are the high-end tablets. This is what? Galaxy Tab S9, S9 Plus, and S9 Ultra?
Yes. Yeah. I want to say that they launched alongside S22, the last ones.
So a while ago. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's still 2022. I could be wrong. It could have been the Fold launch, but I could be totally wrong.
But
it was.
What's
recently.
what's different from the previous ones this time around?
Okay, so the biggest difference is in the Tab S9, the regular 11-inch one.
Yeah.
Because it's got the OLED display now.
Oh, so they all have OLED now.
Yeah, it did not. The S8 did not have.
So let's start from the top. What display size is 11?
I'm gonna say 12.9, and then maybe 14.6.
Okay, the last one is definitely 14 something.
It's
the Ultra is like massive.
Yeah.
And super thin, and these are aluminum. Unibody with machined antenna bands that are like plastic machined in there, right?
Yeah.
The grooves and the things you see in there.
Yeah.
Was that how it was last time too, or were they glass before in the back? See, I have no context because I don't pay attention to.
I could be wrong. I mean, I'm not an expert on the Tab S8 series.
Okay.
To where I really remember.
What about the processors? What are they using?
8 Gen 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy. And a tablet. How interesting.
Yeah. I think the OLED displays in the Plus and the Ultra are also upgrades. It's just obviously a much bigger upgrade for the non-OLEDs. The one that went from being non-OLED to being OLED. There's a 5G model for the Plus.
Okay.
I asked them why just the Plus, and it was just...
Well, so the Ultra I played with during my hands-on said LTE on it.
That's interesting.
So I assume it has a 5G modem.
Yeah.
My photos say it.
Okay.
So...
That's interesting. So, I mean...
So
I gotta assume that's
Korea.
Korean.
Yeah, Korea.
Yeah, because I asked them why only the Plus, and they said it's just a balance between the larger screen size and then the portability. Yeah. So I mean, it's cool. I mean, they make good tablets. I'm kind of disappointed that they're still 16 by 10.
Oh yeah, it's a weird aspect ratio
for a tablet.
Yeah, and that 14 point whatever it is huge.
It's huge.
I mean, it's like unwieldy. Like it's too big. Cameras in the back. The regular S9 has a single camera. The other two have dual cameras, which I assume is an ultra wide and a regular camera. I didn't look at the specs.
Yeah. I really don't follow camera specs on tap, so I probably should more.
The Ultra has some sort of like eye scanning Face ID thing in the front and the bezel. I don't know if you noticed that.
Okay, yeah.
I don't think the other two have that. They have front cameras, but I don't think it's like a dot projector, like Face ID type thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. But yeah, look, I mean, I'm not a tablet person. I was also a bit rushed in our hands-on because we started half an hour late. So we had less. And so my photos were very rudimentary. And also the accessories were on a different level and it didn't explain to us that was going to be the case. And so as we were walking out, we're all realizing there's another whole spread of stuff we could have taken pictures of. The cases and the S Pens and the whatever else's that go with that, and we're like, oh crap, and then we had to all go. So that was a bit of a bummer.
We didn't have access to cases in New York. I still haven't seen them.
So wait, I cannot fathom how you would present a journalist a tablet that's a high-end flagship tablet without giving them the keyboard case. Like, to me, I'm not saying that, like, I use, for example, I have a Lenovo Yoga, or what is it called? You know, the tiny Chrome tablet? The one that's super cheap?
Oh, yeah.
What's it called?
Duet?
Yeah, that's right, the Duet. Yeah. I have one of the original one, the MediaTek one.
That was a cool device.
I loved it.
$200.
And I still use it because sometimes all I need is to watch Netflix, and I don't need a keyboard, right? So I just watch it on there because it runs Android apps. But I can also attach a keyboard and like fire up a Google Doc. It's actually good enough for that. So to me, I don't imagine, especially a high-end tablet, not coming at least optionally with a keyboard. And I'm sure this has a keyboard dock of some kind. Why not give that to the journalists as you like hand them the tablet? Oh.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
So that was weird. So yeah, we have an article on Hot Hardware that my crew wrote up based on my photos and the specs. So I'll send you that way, and also send you to XDA for whatever covers they have of the tablets. Because if you want to find out those differences between the S8 series and the S9 series, you'll find it there.
We do have those, yeah.
I have a feeling that...
We didn't do a hands-on, though, because it's still tablet. How much can you say about it? Like, you can look at that base model and say, the screen's really pretty, and then you have nothing else to say.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
And that's not even bashing the product. It's just a tablet. What else can you do?
I think honestly, what stands out to me is that I did not expect there was an 8 Gen 2 in there. I thought they was like going to be, I don't know, like I don't know what I was thinking, because like that should be interesting to benchmark. Like playing games on that should be really interesting, actually.
I mean, it is also an $800.
Is that the pricing?
Yeah, $799 for the 11-inch starting. Yeah, that's like, and you get that's like 100. It's like 8/126 or something. 8/128.
And then, how much are the other two then? Like $100 more or $200 more?
It's more like the Ultra. I think starts at $1199. Might even be more.
Why would you get this over a MacBook Air?
Right.
Like, I'm sorry, you could just even an M1.
Yeah.
Speaking of, whether we didn't mention the pricing on the phones hasn't changed, which is freaking amazing. $999 and $1799 is the base model. And here's the kicker. We didn't mention this either. The base model, Z Flip5, now has 256 gigs of storage. Yeah. You get double the storage for the same price. So it's not only do you get a cover display that's bigger, you get double the storage. That's the things that matter. Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 you won't notice, other than maybe the photos. The folding flat hinge is nice, but it's not a deal breaker, right?
Has anybody asked if they're going to keep selling the Flip 4 alongside it?
I didn't ask that. I suggested it to the product guys when I talked to them today, and they didn't say anything, which I think tells me they haven't thought about it.
They haven't thought about it?
I mean, they acted like they kind of didn't.
Well, I mean,
like
that, by the way, like,
if you're a product person, right, and I say this to you, you should do this. If it's actually happening, they would have said, "Oh, wow, we're doing it."
Obviously, the elephant in the room that I'm talking about is the Razer, the non-plus.
Well, I told the guy that. I was like,
that still doesn't have a price.
Well, I think it's gonna be $699.
We think it's gonna be $699. They hinted it'll be $699.
So it's sold in India already.
Is it?
And if you look at the equivalent price, it's $699.
Okay. I think they're waiting to see if Samsung keeps selling the Flip 4 and what they start selling it for.
That's actually really smart.
Yeah.
Because they could totally I think if you want the Flip form factor to take off, you really need to have an affordable model. And it means sacrificing some specs. I honestly don't think the average person is going to notice having an 8 Gen 2 an 8 Plus Gen 1 on the Razer Plus versus a 7 Gen whatever it is they have on the other one.
I think it's actually 7 Gen 1, which...
Will they notice?
No.
No. So I don't think that matters. But anyway, the watches, there's two of them. The Galaxy Watch 6 and Watch 6 Classic.
But before, just mentioning Motorola, I gotta give some credit to Motorola. When was the last time you were talking about a Motorola product?
Within the context of Samsung?
No, but just over a month after it launched. Any Motorola product over a month after it launched.
I would have you know that TK Bay of Android Bay is still using his Edge Plus as a daily.
I couldn't...
Which surprised me. To tear in Korea.
It surprises me
I'm
too.
using my Nothing Phone 2 and my Pixel Fold right now.
I love how they launched a flagship phone, the Edge Plus, and then they launched Razer a month later, and all the Edge Plus advertisements got ripped down and replaced with Razer with just a month after it launched. But anyway, back to the watch.
I was just going to the watches because the pricing is interesting, and then we can talk about the watches. The Watch 6 is the cheaper one at $299. The Watch 6 Classic has the physical rotating bezel, and it's $399.
Yeah.
Look, I don't want to be a party pooper, but knowing Android Wear, which I use every day on my Pixel Watch, and I didn't pay for this Pixel Watch, disclaimer, and I'm happy with my Pixel Watch overall, other than it has aged horribly. It's completely scratched to death. It's a terrible shape. It runs, it works, but it's in terrible shape. Other than that, Wear OS isn't really that great. And And I don't know, but like when you compare, I mean, sure, it's a round watch. I like that better than a Apple rectangular watch or rounded corner watch. But I don't think that's very competitive. Like, honestly, like you're asking for a lot here. Like, now the average person is going to buy it as a bundle, discounted or whatever, right? But I still feel like when Apple's making by far the best wearable ever, right? Still today, even though it's square, like you can't come out with prices where your base model is $299.
Yeah,
it seems
it's
overly priced to me.
Especially $399 for the classic is.
And I'm not saying there's a bad products. Like I'm sure they're good because I've used the Tizen versions of these old watches like way back, and I love them. They were great.
The thing is though, they're also not really competing with Apple Watch though.
I know.
Right?
No. Oh.
I mean, it's more like the phone is competing with an iPhone, and you're getting a smartwatch on top of it.
I think if Apple were really smart, they should make an Apple Watch app for Android.
Oh.
It'd be game over.
It would be game over.
Why don't they do that? And it's a gateway drug. Because then when you see how much better the experience is on iPhone compared to... You have one, it works, it gives you some stuff. But then, all of a sudden, you compare it to somebody like you who has both the iPhone and the Apple Watch. And you'll be like, oh, I need to buy an iPhone now.
Yeah. No, it would be really smart. But I mean, as it stands right now, the best watch you could get to use with an Android phone is a Samsung.
Yeah, or maybe the Pixel Watch.
Maybe the Pixel Watch. I personally think the Pixel Watch is the best looking, and I actually think that for most people, that's going to be the most important thing.
It's too small. I mean, it's perfect for some people. Like for me.
Yeah. What was the price on the Pixel Watch?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I want to say it was $300.
Yeah. Okay.
Or $350.
Right. So they're in the same ballpark there.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, my review stands at hard on the Pixel Watch that, other than the wear and tear, which I didn't know after a week of reviewing it, but other than that, battery life is the problem. I run mine with the always on display off, which is not what I prefer. If I had a choice, I would have it on. But if I do that, I literally would have to charge it every day. Whereas right now I can do a day and a half, which works, especially when you're traveling. There's time zones change. You want to have a little bit extra reserve, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to manage it by hand, like turn on the always on display and turn it off and all that. So
yeah.
But I'm hoping the new Pixel Watch, whatever they're working on to come alongside the Pixel 8 series, is gonna come at least in 2 sizes.
That would be nice.
And if it can just solve the battery life problem a little bit, like give me a day and a half or 2 days with always on, I'm in 100% because that's I'm very happy with what this watch does.
Yeah.
I just want it to be more durable and give me better battery life. And honestly, if Samsung can deliver that, great. The problem is that Samsung is that they didn't have the same parity of features that Wear OS was on Pixel. Like Pixel is kind of like on the phones, Google's giving themselves the best experience and not letting Samsung have it, which is annoying.
Yeah, it is. It is.
And as much as I complain on my review of the Pixel Watch that, you have to install the Fitbit app for all your health and fitness stuff, the Fitbit ecosystem is actually really good.
It is good.
Once you get over the annoyance of having to set up 2 different apps, actually it's working out really well for me. So, but I still think that if you have an Apple Watch, like the stuff you're telling me, like, you've been taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And eating better and working out more. And a lot of it is because you have Apple Watch to help you, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is a game changer.
Yeah, and Apple Fitness Plus. Although I would credit it to the Apple Watch more just because of the way that goals are set up on Apple Watch. They're just what I personally respond to more. Because, I mean, you have competiters to Apple Fitness Plus.
Fitbit has a thing too.
Yeah, they have a thing. Peloton has something, and like I used Peloton because my health insurance gave it to me for free, so I have both.
Holy crap! Yeah, that's really amazing.
Yeah. So whenever I'm using a Pixel Watch or if I'm using the Samsung, I'll be able to use Peloton with that, and they have the same kind of integration where your heart rate's shown on the screen and all that stuff.
So I did take some pretty pictures of the watches. I managed to squeeze those in. Then I'm like, oh, tablets. Oh, what do? I don't know how to photograph tablets. And if they had been if they had been in the keyboard stand, I would have set them up, and like done some close-ups of the keyboard and stuff. But I ran out of time, and I feel really kind of bad about the photos I took. So maybe they're on the site, maybe they're not because they're not in my article. So I don't know.
Right.
But the watch photos are great. So check them out on Hot Hardware. The thing is, what do we know about these watches? What do they do better or differently than before? It's all software, it seems like.
No,
Features, right?
The Watch 6 is thinner and lighter.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal, though. I mean, because that's why, I have the Classic, which I think is the more exciting one to most people, but I was really excited about the regular Watch 6 because, like, if you hold these things in your hands, you could feel there's a big difference in the weight. And when you're wearing it all day, obviously.
Yeah, I do like that this is pretty light.
It is light.
Watch.
Yeah.
It's small, too small for my wrist, as you can see if you're watching on Patreon right now. Yeah, so, overall, we've talked about mostly the phones and how it's very evolutionary. The tablets have always been pretty evolutionary, I feel, with Samsung. New chipset.
Yeah.
Better displays, better cameras, but they're not, like, radically reinventing the tablet. It's not like... I don't know, like there's been some tablets out there that have really kind of changed the game, like Surface, right?
Yeah.
I would even say that the OnePlus Pad had some interesting features to it that for an Android tablet was pretty cool. Now, Samsung, I think, also developed some pretty neat software tricks on their tablets over the years. That's what I hear. I don't know.
Well, they do. They do focus on the seamless integration where the second screen.
But even the multitasking experience, I think, is something they've been focusing on for a number of years now, right? On the S series tablets, yeah. So I'm sure that stuff's good. Would I buy one? No. First of all, I'm not a tablet person, and honestly, if I want a good tablet, since I'm an Apple user, I just get an iPad, right? Okay, or I would get. Honestly, the OnePlus Pad was awesome. I really enjoyed it. Or that little Chromebook Duet from Lenovo. I know they have a new version now that's probably better and faster and nicer. And for that form factor, it's perfect. And I would even go further by saying Redmi sent me their last tablet, just like a $300, $299 or something, $250 even. Yeah. It's all metal and glass. It's got a beautiful IPS panel. It refreshes at 90 hertz or something. It has like a Helio G99, the best 4G non-Dimensity chip that MediaTek makes. And for just content consumption, like watching Netflix, checking your email, it's perfect.
I had one that Realme sent
and it's
me.
Beautiful. I think that's the same.
Oh, it's the same one? Oh, you said Redmi.
Oh, you said, mine is a Redmi. Yours is a Realme, okay.
Yeah, it looks like an iPad Air. It comes in that same kind of like sky blue color.
Oh, nice.
It's got I'm going to say 4G LTE. It might have 5G.
Okay.
And it might have 5G that's not supported in the US.
Here, yeah.
But it's got cellular. It's a great tablet, and it costs a couple $100.
Yeah, I like that this Redmi that I have is very competent and beautiful designed and beautiful screen and decent performance. But more importantly, it's so affordable and it's like you don't feel like you need more. It's like I don't know how. Like maybe if you're like drawing, like a lot of the tab stuff they were showing us here,
right?
At the event.
Samsung is clearly aiming these
for the iPad.
Well, iPad Pro specifically, right?
Right.
But with the $799 price, they're not even playing against the Air.
Yeah.
But that's another thing. There are two FE models that were rumored / leaked.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Yeah, but I was afraid that they were going to show up on the website, on Samsung.com at the end of the event. Oh no, I'm only prepared for this stuff. But it didn't.
Yeah. We talked about it last week because the rumors are an 8 Gen 1, and I don't believe that. It's got to be an 8 Plus Gen 1. There's no way that they're making an 8 Gen 1 phone today. I don't even think Qualcomm sells that chip anymore.
They probably don't, yeah.
Because, the 8 Plus Gen 1 is essentially a TSMC version with a few tweaks. It's so significantly better in terms of thermals and efficiency that why would you even want to sell an 8 Gen 1 to your customers and piss them off?
Right.
Yeah,
but it's like they have so many tiers for their tablets. You know, from Tab A. Now then there's going to be Tab S FE, and what was it, FE Plus?
Is there going to be a fan edition of the tabs now?
Yeah, that was what the rumor was, that there was. So if that
I was talking about phones.
Oh, the S23 FE that was also rumored.
Yeah. I thought you thought the phone would show up suddenly.
Right. Oh, right.
I see. We're talking about
I thought. Well, I was afraid both would show up, to be honest.
You know what's funny though is we got so we have a Tab FE, we have a phone, we have the A series. What we now need is a Tab Z folding tab.
Well, okay.
It folds in half.
Yeah.
Put it in your bag. The screen never gets
I was
damaged.
going to say for a second you kind of have that with the Z Folds. But that's
but
more
bigger.
into it.
Like
Yeah,
imagine,
but bigger. Right,
take that 11-inch tablet and fold it in half now so that the screen never gets scratched up and it's in your bag and taking up less space. Or now it maybe fits in your shirt pocket.
Yeah. I mean, well, Samsung is making...
Because Samsung has done all the combination of all the things. Do you remember back in the day...
They make the screens already. They make 17-inch folding screens.
Yes, and do you remember back in the day when they made the Galaxy, like around the same time as the original Note or the Note 2, they made the Galaxy Mega?
Yeah.
Right? Like it was a mid-range phone, like an A series phone, but it had like the biggest screen at the time that it had ever done, right? Yeah. And do you remember how they did the Galaxy camera, right? Which was So
was that what it was called? Was it called the Galaxy camera?
I believe so.
Okay.
I'm not sure anymore now.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that I just wouldn't find it impossible for Samsung to say, oh yeah, let's take one of our Pro tablets and make it fold for whatever reason. Right. Yeah. I don't know why you do that, but they would do it.
Yeah.
And see if it sticks, right? Like just like the Galaxy camera and the Galaxy. Well, look, the Note's the best example of that, right? They made the Galaxy Note, it stuck. It developed into a perfect line that now is merged with the S line. But it still exists. The S23 Ultra I'm recording right now is your modern Note. Yeah. And some people would not want to do anything else, right? So they've made some loyal customers.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, overall, I think, that's basically the Korea news of this Samsung Galaxy Unpacked event. And I'm excited we have more folding phone choices in North America now. But I want more flips.
Yeah?
Yeah, because look,
I want more folds.
So I was talking to Nick about this, Nick Gray, like just as we were waiting for our review this. And he's like, the fold form factor, the book style, is going to die. He doesn't believe it. He thinks it's not going to last.
I disagree.
It's too niche. I think it's going to be like the Note.
Yeah.
It's going to remain.
It's also niche because they're $1,800.
Well, exactly. If the price drops. But my point is, I think the Flip is going to be kind of like the really popular one. And so I'm like, in terms of sales numbers and reach to a more...
It's $1,000 and
$699 maybe for the Razr. So my point is, I'm surprised we're seeing like OnePlus announce a Fold. You know, we have the Pixel Fold. Like, I'm surprised that Google didn't do a Flip. Or OnePlus isn't doing a Flip.
That's true.
Now, OnePlus is more of a nerdy brand, so the Fold makes sense. But I'm surprised because honestly, I think who can come along other than Moto? Who can come in there and give us another flip phone right now? Oppo? Not sold in the US.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. OnePlus could do it just because...
Right? It has to be OnePlus.
Right.
But OnePlus won't do it because they're aiming for the high-end niche techie audience, right? Yeah. So I'm not sure who could do it. Like, who's left?
This is only the more mainstream product because of the price, right?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's more practical?
I think it's also a form factor.
Yeah.
You know, I think...
Like, if the price was equal between these two, you think this would still be...
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, that's never going to happen. That's going to drop in price as well. When the Fold drops in price, the Flip's going to keep dropping in price too.
True.
So there's going to be always a price differential between the two.
Yeah.
But I think that the reason the Flip is so popular is because... there's a nostalgia factor for some people, right? Like the oldest like us. We remember the days of the Razr, the original, and we like flip phones because of it. Like Michael Fisher is that guy to some extent, right? But I think the younger people, the millennials, you know, they look at it and they go like, this is cool, and it takes up less space in my purse, and I protect the screen, I'm in, right? And I think that's what impresses people more. Because here's the thing, when you open that screen up and you get that 6.7 inch, normal display of a normal smartphone, you know the user experience already. You don't have to learn anything new. The only thing you have to learn is the cover display. And even that you don't have to. Because I know so many Flip users that don't use any of the features of the front display. They just look at the time and the date, the notifications, and maybe when a phone call comes in, they see who it calls.
I gotta say, it's been really wild to see how many people have foldable phones here.
In Korea?
Yeah.
Well, welcome to Samsung land.
Samsung land, yeah, for sure.
But I think it's interesting to me that we have, this form factor that I think people can relate more than the Fold. Even though I'm a nerd and I'm kind of a power user, when I open up my Pixel Fold, when I open up a Galaxy Fold, I'm like, this is a lot. How do I really leverage using this right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but that's the thing. I don't use it for everybody talks about mobile productivity, and it's that's.
Watching videos and stuff. Is that what you use it for?
I use it for reading. I use it for the Kindle app. I use it for reading comic books. And that means I don't have to bring an iPad mini with me when I go places.
What I really like is the web.
Yeah.
Earlier today, I had to flip my story live, and I had it right there. It was so much easier to use. The CMS is only a web interface, and it's not mobile optimized for them because they have a custom in-house CMS.
Sure.
And you know what? I just did it. I just went in there. It was just easy as pie.
Yeah.
For that, yes. But I'm really annoyed at how few apps are optimized for this form factor that are not tweaked, like Samsung tweaked the apps to make them work. That Google's leaving it on the developers to do it. And the developers are just not going to care, right?
Yeah.
So
they're going to try though. I mean, they did tablet and Fold at the same time.
But we didn't think they'd ever do a tablet again, remember?
Yeah, well, but they're trying for bigger screens.
Yeah.
It's not a news story from Google by any means. But they did. They came out with Pixel Tablet. They came out with Pixel Fold. They did it at the exact same time. They said, hey, guys, we have bigger screens. They're wider screens. And so, versus something like this.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Well, listen, this is a good time to wrap up, I think. Do you want to tell folks where they can find you on the internet, on your various social media handles, and tell them about XDA and stuff? What'd you do there?
I am at The Rich Woods on everything.
Everything. Nice.
On
So what are you on? Because today that's relevant. Back in the day, it was Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter /X.
X, right? I'm on X.
First podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads.
Facebook? Are you on Facebook?
I'm on Facebook, but I don't really use it for work stuff.
LinkedIn?
Yep, LinkedIn. I'm not active there.
No, but
I exist.
Are you on Mastodon?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you use it though?
No.
Okay. No. You're like me. I have apparently a couple of accounts on Mastodon because I got really confused on how it worked.
Yeah. No.
Now, don't get me wrong. I understand the idea of a distributed network, but it's just way too nerdy, even for me. So But yeah, so check out Rich's social media and XDA.
XDA, yeah, we're still there.
You run the place now.
I run the place. Yeah, it's good stuff. So we there's a Samsung lunch going on. So so that's what we're focusing on.
I will
we got
stuff.
Reviews coming from me, from Ben Sin. Adam Conway is going to do some performance tests. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool.
We love events like this because that's where guys
that's
like
where
that get to shine.
Comes.
Yeah, that's where we get to do some the stuff we love to do.
Yeah, I will be reviewing the Z Flip5 and the Z Fold5 for Hot Hardware in the next week or two. So stay tuned for that. You guys all know where to find me on social. Tankgirl is my handle, TNKGRL, on all social media. It's like the comic book character, just drop all the vowels, and that's how you remember it. That's X/Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and Blue Sky. These are the ones I actively use right now. It's just a lot. Although I broke my rules today, I did post on Blue Sky and Threads about the stuff I posted on the other three, because old habits die hard. And then, of course, you can find the podcast at mobiletechpodcast.com. And we're on all the big platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Spotify, everywhere good podcasts can be found. If your app lets you rate or review the show, please consider doing that. It helps for people trying to find us and stuff. And then there's a YouTube channel you should check out. It's got my hands-on videos with the Z Flip5 and Z Fold5 right now, right here. If you go right now, you'll see it. So that's youtube.com/mobiletechpodcast. And you know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment below, and comment about the podcast even if you want. And then finally, there's a Patreon, patreon.com/TankGirl, as I mentioned earlier, patreon.com/TNKGRL. There is a bunch of perks there. There's a Discord server you can join. There is also the video version of the podcast. I think that's the
surprise
most popular.
Unboxings.
With surprise unboxings. Yeah. And then I even described what was going on for you. So yeah, so check out the Patreon. If you can help, I'd appreciate it. Consider joining. And if you can't help, by a monthly thing, maybe give me a one-time donation on PayPal. There's a link in the show notes. You can click through it. Buy me a cup of coffee or something. That'd be nice. So yeah, that's how you can help out. Of course, I also want to thank our sponsor, Mint Mobile. I review a lot of phones, so I'm constantly juggling multiple devices. While that's fun, it also means I'm spending a lot of money for wireless service on multiple SIMs. Thankfully, there's Mint Mobile, and that's who I'm teaming up with for today's podcast. If you want to save money on your wireless service, switch to Mint Mobile. You've probably seen the Mint Mobile ads featuring Ryan Reynolds, but let me quickly tell you how fantastic their service is, especially for tech-savvy early adopters like us. Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for as low as $15 a month, and you don't have to sacrifice any coverage, speed, or data. They're built on the nation's largest 5G network. They keep costs low because they sell direct to you online. They cut out the retail stores and salespeople. Why should you pay more than you have to for access to the same network? In my experience testing phones, Mint Mobile delivers the same data speeds and call quality as the big three for a fraction of the cost. Switching to Mint is super easy. Thanks to their eSIMs, you can sign up and activate immediately right on your phone from the comfort of your home. No more standing around waiting in line at a big wireless store. You can keep your current devices and phone number and easily switch services. And if your phone isn't eSIM compatible, Mint will ship you a new SIM card free of charge. The whole process only takes 15 minutes, and if you get stuck, Mint has a great customer service team to get you through it. All Mint Mobile plans include unlimited nationwide talk and text, plus lightning-fast 5G and free mobile hotspot. Mint will show you how much data you use each month and recommend plans that save you money. Mint also offers a modern family plan that lets you set up a super affordable family plan with as little as 2 lines. Use my link, mintmobile.com/mobiletech, to get premium wireless starting at $15 a month. Stop paying more than you need on your wireless bill and start saving big with Mint Mobile. And I want to thank you, Rich, for being my guest late night in Seoul, Korea. How cool was that? Thanks for
having me. Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show yet again.
Yeah, anytime.
Awesome. So, folks, we'll have Rich on again at some point in the future. I've got another podcast coming next week with all the news that I missed this week, so stay tuned for that. Until then, cheers, everybody.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.